Trump's caught Canada in a stranglehold, and the Liberals are panicking because the hypocrisy of their green agenda is about to be put in the spotlight. For years, they've run around preaching about going green, shutting down pipelines, and choking our energy sector, all while raking in billions from oil, 30% from our GDP, in fact, to fund this inefficient, faulty eco-agenda. But now, Trump's America First trade policies are about to force a choice. Admit that the green agenda has been nothing more than an ideological political pawn and double down on fossil fuels to get Canada out of this mess, or maintain the facade, continue to lie, and go all in on green energy, which will surely bankrupt the country. Let me explain how this is going to play out. Trump just hit us with 25% auto tariffs to bring production back to the United States. And while this means up to 50,000 more American jobs, the Canadian auto industry could get cut in half, wiping out 200,000 jobs and tanking our GDP by 2.5%, as per the Bank of Canada estimates. Now, Canada is scrambling to retaliate. Doug Ford is out here saying he wants to inflict pain on Americans, while Carney promises a fierce response, vowing retaliatory tariffs designed for maximum impact in the United States. As for Poilievre, he said we must retaliate and diversify. So it's fair to say that Canadian leadership is planning to retaliate and continue this trade war. In response, Trump said that if Canada and the European Union coordinate against the US, they'll face tariffs far larger than currently planned. And he's not bluffing. Just look at when Ford tacked a 25% tariff on energy exports leaving Ontario. Trump immediately doubled the steel tariffs to 50%, forcing Ford to back down in the blink of an eye. But here's where the squeeze comes into play. Canada is America's gas station, supplying 60% of U.S. crude imports, or 4 million barrels a day. That's $120 billion a year flowing from the U.S. into Canada's economy. So while the Liberals have spent years demonizing oil, shutting down domestic projects, and virtue signaling about net zero goals, our entire economy depends on this stuff. Now, currently, Trump has a 10% energy tariff already in place, but his next move in this trade war will likely be a 25% tariff on oil and gas. That's $30 billion in lost revenue overnight. Alberta, the heart of Canada's oil sector, could see its economy shrink by 8%. So now here's where things come to a head. With our current oil and gas infrastructure, Canada only has the capacity to divert 22% of the oil going into America. In fact, a significant diversion, say 50% of U.S. exports, would require new pipelines like Energy East, which was canceled in 2017, or Northern Gateway, neither of which exists today. So while we pretend that diversifying to Asia and Europe is the solution, it's a bit of a pipeline dream. Canada relies on the U.S. for 70% of its exports. It's not China, it's not Europe, it's America. So what happens now? Well, seeing that 30% of our GDP comes from energy exports and our productivity everywhere else is laughable, we have two choices. Option one, to recover $30 billion in oil revenue, Canada would need to boost oil and gas exports by 25% at pre-tariff prices. That said, my guess is that we'll have to discount it to compete in the US market, so this number might be even closer to 30%. To make this happen, the Liberals have to do two things. First, remove the oil and gas cap immediately. And second, they can no longer pretend to be climate crusaders while their entire budget depends on scaling up and selling fossil fuels to the US, at which point their fake green agenda collapses under the weight of economic reality. Or option two, Carney makes good on that threat to use emergency powers to implement his green energy projects. Our economy continues to spiral out of control, at which point the Liberals try to bolster their green facade by printing more money. At which point the real economic nosedive begins for Canadians, all because the Liberals chose ideology and partisanship over economic stability and what's best for Canada. So what do we do, Canada? Well, one party has put all their eggs in green energy. They've put us in a weak and vulnerable position, and now threaten to use emergency powers and your tax dollars to double down on this really bad economic strategy, while the other party is pro-energy. In fact, here's a quote from Poilievre himself. Oil and gas has built this country. It's 30% of our exports, employs 600,000 people, and funds our schools and hospitals. The Liberals want to kill it. I'll unleash it. So what we do now, Canada, is vote for the party that has the political will to fix this mess.